Hey, this is Derek with Caffe Realty. Today, I wanted to talk about when you are trying to achieve a goal, there are too many people that are focused on the optics versus the results. And I think a lot of times that's what's hurting certain people, actually, a lot of people, because they won't take certain pathways because of how it looks to other people rather than the results at the end. And when you are focused on how you look while you're trying to achieve success rather than the results of your actions, and or rather taking the actions that will get you the results the fastest, then you are setting yourself up for a world of hurt when it comes to actually achieving your goals. And for example, that could be as simple as something as, oh, if you were dedicated to it, you don't get a job. People who are successful in something, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you absolutely have to just go full time into it. There is no leeway with things. There's no middle ground. It's either black or white. And that's just not the case for many people. And the idea of having success by just a very risk prone approach, which is basically, hey, I'm going to go 100% in. I'm not going to have any stability to my life in any form or fashion, whether that's a spouse or significant other who has a stable job or a part-time job that you're taking on. I think it is absolutely crazy in this world. And then what people will say is they'll refer back to people like Jeff Bezos. They started out of a garage. There's a lot of like sayings that get stuck in society and people just like latch on to things, not understanding that over time, different metrics change in society, different cultural shifts happen. And if you are using some wisdom from the 1980s or 1990s in this day and age, it's just not the same period in time. The and despite, well, before Trump, things were already changing. Everything from the United States standing in the world, everything from just the reality of America, where we as millennials were one of the first generations that were predicted to do worse than our parents. And if you're not paying attention to these overall arching, like macroeconomic indicators, and you're trying to live in a 1950s ideology in today's time, it's almost where people will feel that they're going insane because you're trying to make yourself fit this mold that does not exist and hasn't existed for decades. And so with that, when you're trying to make yourself look a certain way or take a certain approach, and everybody said I have to do it this way, that's what I mean when I'm talking about optics versus results. You're not paying attention to what, if everybody's saying it, then off topic, it's easy to question it, because that would mean if it's common knowledge, then overall you're going to get common results. There now, in some cases, rare cases, because I'm a person that doesn't necessarily believe in absolutes or believe that it's, as you could see from this video, it's not about absolutes. It's not about it's always this way. It's a lot of gray area. And so if you're not paying attention to these things and understanding that certain things are very universal throughout time. So even back hundreds of years ago, there were people dealing with issues with debt, people dealing with housing insecurity, people dealing with all sorts, not being able to get enough food. There's been all sorts of issues that are universal, but their causes, the effects, etc., they differ throughout time. And even prior to the Industrial Revolution of the early 1900s, a lot of people were more agricultural in nature. So it was more a thing of having kids. So then the kids eventually become helpers and employees on the farm. And a lot of times when it comes to today's society, people have this 1950s ideal, even when it comes to kids. A kid grows up, becomes 18, and then they should move out. That may have worked when my grandparents to my parents were coming up, to where my grandparents, they may, or my grandfather in particular, may have been able to get a job at a factory with little high school education or a high school diploma, and got a job that he would be able to support his family on with just that one income. It is not like that today. And many times people are trying to make it, they're trying to fit themselves into that. And if it does not fit into that, they won't take the steps that are necessary to get the results that they want, because the optics of it don't look the same. That's what I'm trying to really hammer home. If you're focused on the optics, like success has to look like this. Success has to come this way. In your journey, you'll only take routes that have been accepted by other people and or been done in the past. And today is a whole new day. It's a whole new world out there. And if you're trying to make yourself fit into a pathway that you believe is the right way, or take in the guidance from somebody who did it 20, 30 years ago, and you're just trying to make yourself fit into that mold in order to quote unquote reach success, you're losing. And I think many people who are aiming for success, or to quote unquote live an American dream of home ownership, are finding that out for themselves, that they are winding up in a nightmare because it's not going the way they expected it to go. And you're getting these results simply because you're following an outdated model, and you're trying to get results of the past, but the past is the past. Today's the future. Now, so once again, I always point out certain things carry over throughout different generations, but the formula has changed. The cheese has moved, and you have to move with the cheese. So if you're being held back by other people's, by personal beliefs, like you hear somebody say something like, you can't have a 9 to 5 and be dedicated to your business. I think that's just garbage. I think it's just absolute garbage, because when I first started acquiring properties, like, I was a full-time personal trainer. Income was absolutely, when I first got to Atlanta, I was a full-time personal trainer. Income was absolutely sporadic. It did not allow me to build a solid base, and I needed something that was stable in order to buy those first properties, which got me on the ladder to build up to where I am today. But I needed that stability of a job, which I did when I worked for the United States Postal Service for 3.5 years in Kennesaw, Georgia. That job, although I really did not like doing it, but it was absolutely necessary for me to get the stability, to be able to qualify for a mortgage, to pay off debts, to get my credit in order. You need stability. And that stability could come from a spouse, it could come from a parent who's financially supporting you. But the idea that you're just going to go out here and against the odds, I'm not saying that it can't happen, but what I'm saying is, when it does happen, it is like the 1 to 2% of like probability. It's like winning the lottery. Sure, there are people who win the lottery, but there's many, many times more losers than there are winners. But a lot of times people like to talk about those winners and use that as, that's just a natural, that's what's bound to happen. You're bound to be a winner. And that's what keeps people on these cycles of just playing the lottery, or just hoping it's my time this time. It's my time, especially if you get a little hit on something. You make $5,000 in the lottery. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is great. And my strategy is working and whatnot. And so you tell other people and they get involved in it. But in order for a lottery to be successful, there have to be more losers than winners. So if you're taking a path which, for the most part, is going to result in you being a loser, but you are trying to be that 1 to 2%, then you're going to become a loser. And I think one of the things with it is that each of us is special. But I think for many of us, we think we're too special. We believe we're that 1%. We believe we're that 2%. We believe that, versus our probability of being in the majority of people and probability, we're going to be in that small percentage because we're so special. We're so gifted. We're so talented. We're going to be that percent that makes it. And obviously there are 1 to 2% that make it. And so that becomes that carrot that keeps the 98%, that 98, 99% strumming along because they want to be that one. They believe that they're that 1 to 2%. But I'm going to challenge you to think that I know I'm special. I know I'm a once in a lifetime talent. But say I just happen to fall into that 99%. What tactics would I still use to be successful if I am in that majority rather than that small minority, that very small minority? And if you can take those steps, you will have a much higher chance of success than if you're thinking that you're that 1 to 2%. So overall, and I say particularly here in Atlanta, where people want to look the part and they want to take things from a perspective of fake it till you make it. And I'm telling you, you will be faking it a mighty long time. You need to take a dose of reality and realize maybe I am that small portion of people who is, I feel that I have a lot of talent, and not to say that you don't have a lot of talent, but let me take these steps that would be for anybody, that would allow anybody to be successful, even if they didn't have my level of a talent. And then my talent acts as icing on the cake to push me up. So when it comes to being successful, whatever you categorize that as, having a home, having $1 million net worth, $1 billion net worth, whatever that is, focus on the actions that will get you the results. Don't focus on how it should look or how people tell you it should look, because most of these people telling you have never done it. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they are very confident. They are very confident because they've heard the same stuff from other people, and we just regurgitate what we've heard from other people. Yeah, that sounds right. Let me repeat that because that sounds smart to me. But it is absolute garbage. Focus on the results. A lot of the wealthy people I know, including myself, it's a focus on the results, because there's a lot of videos on here on YouTube where people talk about why the rich dress poor or why you should look poor if you're trying to be wealthy. And it's not about looking poor or dressing poor. What it's about is not caring about what people are saying you're supposed to look like, focusing on the results. When your values are aligned with the results and doing things that get you the results that you're looking for, you don't care about the other stuff. You're focused on actually getting results. You don't care that you don't have the latest car, because at the end of the day, what you're looking for is, what does that bank account say? What does, when you do your personal financial statement and you're looking at your net worth, what does that say? You don't care about what other people are saying, simply because you understand it's about those numbers. It's not about what this person thinks of you, because I have plenty of people in my personal life who are wealthy by normal standards, meaning $1 million plus net worth. And these people do not look like it at all. They do not look like any example of what you're thinking about, which is a extravagant wealth where you have both high income and high net worth. In those cases, people may be able to spend a high amounts of money because they have a lot of income coming in. There's maybe a lot of entertainers. They may have high incomes coming in. And so you see that and you're like, oh, that's what I should look like. That's what wealth looks like. But no, this is a very small fraction of people. And that's why a lot of times entertainers in various aspects, actors, athletes, musicians, etc., you think they're so wealthy, and then you find out later they're sleeping in a car, they're doing this and that and the other. And that's because people are concerned with the optics rather than the results. And a lot of times, I'll tell you, the results are they're not easily accessible to the eye. The results are just, if you could pick up on the words that people are saying, rather than just the optics. I'm talking to a buddy of mine, and he's talking about, yeah, helping out my mom. We're just talking about things. He was like, yeah, we got 500 acres in Alabama. And then, yeah, we got trying to fix up the house and stuff like that. And then, yeah, oh, yeah, but yeah, did you want to get that? I'm trying to get rid of this, was it car wash that I own? And I'm doing this and stuff. And it's not glamorous, but when you start to tabulate the assets that they're talking about, and you say, oh, 500 acres, this, that, and the other, and you know what, and you may know in general like what land values are, then you can, and then it's, oh, it's been in our family for multiple generations, so you can think to yourself, okay, this person may have a certain level of wealth based off of assets, which aren't the things that you typically can see with a person. When you run across a person on the street, typically you don't know their stock portfolio. You typically don't know the equity that they have in a business. That's not visible. What you see is the clothes that they're dressed in, the type of car that they drive. But a lot of people with these assets and the equity and both business equity and real estate equity built up, they don't look like it because it's all about growing that or maintaining that wealth. And it's about the results rather than the optics of how it looks to other people, because they know in America, a majority of Americans have little to no wealth. And that's by design, that's by policy, but that's the way it is. But there's many people, and we all have cameras and we all have our own opinions, and we can say our opinion confidently, whether it's right or wrong. And so, yeah, don't care about what people are talking about. You focus on, is what I'm doing the right thing to get me to where I want to go? And you may not know it, but typically there's three things I would say can let you know whether what you're doing is going to get you to that level. One, is what you're doing looking to increase your income? Number two, is what you're doing decreasing your expenses? Because if it increases your income and then it increases your expenses right along with it, then you're at a net zero. You're not gaining anything. So you have to look at ways to increase your income and to decrease your expenses at the same time, because you need to create what's called a surplus. And then number three is to use that surplus and invest it wisely. If you are doing these three things and all of your activities are doing these three things, then you will get to whatever level of success that you're aiming for. It's increase your income, decrease your expenses, and invest the difference wisely. That's it. It's that simple. Now, what's going to happen is people are going to take wrong ways to increase their income, or people will use crazy, or use they'll think they're decreasing their expenses, but they'll be doing it in a way that is not proper. For example, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to buy these clothes because they're on sale, so I'm decreasing my expenses because it's on sale, so I'm not paying full price, so I'm decreasing my expenses. And it's, yeah, but no. I'm not saying there in all cases, yeah, but no, but in most cases, yeah, but no. The thing that you could do is, you've already probably spent money on clothes, and unless those are completely like ratty or whatever it is, wear the same clothes. Don't be all fancy with your clothes. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that you have to wear certain brands of clothes. Oh, I have to have luxury brands of clothes, or I have to have luxury items. That's what it is to decrease your expenses. It's not just, oh, it's on sale, so I'm decreasing my expenses. No, it is to not buy that at all and to use that money that you're saving once you're increasing your income to invest in things that produce income for you. Because what you need to do, what you always need to be in the mindset of, is you are trying to get out of you earning money from your activities alone. You are trying to earn money from the efforts of other people. That is capitalism at its heart. It is getting a piece of other people's labor. That is capitalism in America. So while other people go out and they're doing their things, everything from, and this is just living their lives. You're going to a coffee shop. When you go to a coffee shop and somebody's worked for money, and then they're going to the coffee shop and they're going to spend some of that money. Now, when the owner of the coffee shop, they hire somebody to help out to be at the counter and whatnot, or to make the drinks. They are creating a drink where they're making a small portion of that person's work, where they have profit, and that profit is the at capturing other people's work, where you are capturing a portion of the work that the your consumer did when they pay for it, and that's your profit. But then also the difference between what you're paying for supplies and what you pay in labor and your profit, that is capturing a piece of all these people's work. Because in order to buy the coffee, the consumer had to go to work, and then the person who is serving it that works for you, that person is you have profit, hopefully you have profit through that work. And so you're capturing a small piece of all of these people's work that they're doing. And that is how you are being allowed to be able to do what you do. And there's a lot of risk associated with that, a lot of risk associated with that, which is why there's a reward associated with it in some senses, because a person puts a lot at financial stake to open up the restaurant, to do the build out, to pay the payroll every 2 weeks. And most people wouldn't do that if there wasn't a benefit to doing so. So if there's not a benefit to do, why would somebody take the risk? So the profit becomes a reward for taking that risk. Now, at a certain point, it could be too stacked in somebody's favor, such as with these many of the billionaires that are out here today, where it could be so stacked in a person's favor that at a certain point it becomes uncompetitive for everybody else who is not a billionaire or doesn't have that level of accumulated capital. So there are limits to it, but at the very small mom and pop scale, you're taking a risk, and then you want to be rewarded for that risk. So anyway, do what you need to do. Don't care about what anybody says. Don't care about what anybody says it looks like. Don't be focused on the optics. Focus on the actions that will get you the results. And if that means being frugal, if that means taking an extra shift at your job to get some money to save away, whatever that means, do it. And don't be don't be so mind screwed to just think that this is not how, basically, to take an immigrant mindset to it, to not feel like, oh, I'm an American and I have to live this certain lifestyle. And that is what harms a lot of people, the idea that you have to live up to this certain lifestyle. And that lifestyle really is the income for somebody else. And people have taught you that you need to live this lifestyle because it is their income. So you have to reprogram yourself to say, okay, that's what somebody was taught, or that's what I was taught, but this isn't conducive to living the type of lifestyle I want. So let me find the formula that will allow me to live that lifestyle. And that's when you're focused more on the results rather than the optics. And this is a different video because I am a commercial real estate broker and licensed general contractor, but I got into this business to build my own personal wealth. So one of the things that I'm very focused on is personal finance. I have a bachelor's degree in finance from Youngstown State University. And that was part of the reason why I got my degree. I wanted to know about how to manage money, because obviously if you work a job, sure, you have money coming in, but that doesn't mean you understand how to manage that money or what to do with that money once you've earned it. Personal finance is a big thing that's important to me. It's in order to build wealth and to increase your income, you need a level of financial management or financial aptitude. I'll be doing videos like this too, just about mindset and overall just the those aspects of finance that don't typically deal with, or those points of investing in real estate that are more mindset focused rather than the actual numbers. So we'll be doing both numbers here, but also just mindset things, because they're both important for you to be able to build wealth and increase your income. So if you're looking for a commercial real estate broker or a licensed general contractor here in Atlanta, Georgia, feel free to give me a call. And until the next video. Oh, and also don't forget, because I always forget this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And a lot of times some people are reaching out to me and they want me to do one-on-ones. Let me know what you're interested in finding out, and I'll create a video about it, because I'm not able to talk to everybody one-on-one because simply I run a actual business. I am a licensed general contractor. I am a licensed real estate broker here in the state of Georgia. So I run an actual business where I do generate money. So when multiple people call me up and they all want to have these one-on-one conversations and they want to do them for free, doesn't necessarily work, simply because I have to earn income the same way other people have to earn income. Let me know in the videos, and I will be glad to create a video about a topic that you specifically want to know about in those fields of investing in real estate or commercial real estate or construction or becoming a general contractor. I'd be glad to create videos, because if you have that question, I guarantee you from my DMs and the emails that I receive on my company website, other people want to know too. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to hear. And until then, I will see you on the next video.